One morning, Ada notices Francis behaving very strange. He looks dejected and disappointed, and upon questions, Francis shows Ada a letter. They have been asked to remove her from their one-room apartment at Ashdown within a month. With this new development, Ada begins to lose faith in human nature. Combined with the critical state of Vicky in the hospital, the need to register Titi in a nursery school, she being pregnant for her third child, it dawns on Ada that she and her husband will have to go back to Nigeria. Ada realizes that even the so-called discrimination she suffers in her one year in Britain is more from her fellow countrymen and women than the whites. The reasons why Francis and Ada were asked to quit their one-room apartment was because 1. They were Igbos. Number 2. They had their children live with them. Number 3. Because Ada worked as a librarian instead of getting an inferior job. And number 4. They were not conforming to the standard of a second-class citizen. This made the landlord ask them to quit the apartment. During these weeks of house hunt, Ada decides to dedicate her time in getting themselves a good apartment, unlike the one Francis got for them initially. But she notices that any good house she stops to check in, it always have the inscription, "Sorry, no colored." With this development, a house search is made very difficult because she is a black. It was at this point Ada realizes that she was not equal to the white folk, as every door was shut against them upon the realizations that they were black, even when they were offered or even when they offered to pay double portion of the amount of the rent. Things get really worse for Ada in the house search at Crescent Street. Even when she tries to play at a white woman, she couldn't also do that because upon the realization by the white woman that Ada was a black, she also turned her down. Ada had to go to ghetto or those slumpy area to look for a house. Finally, she found a house at Mr. Noble, who stays in a place called Willis Road. So Ada finally gets a house in Panobo or Mr. Noble's place. A little biography or a little delusion on the person of Mr. Noble. Mr. Noble happens to be one of those first Nigerians who went to London with the aim of studying to come back as an aristocrat. But with things not going well as planned, they ended up marrying a white woman which they consider as a second achievement on their path. So, as Ada and Francis packs into Panoble's place, Ada feels uneasy to go to work. She notices some gentle kick in her stomach, reminding her that she has all along been pregnant and yet she has been stressing herself. Tired by the pregnancy and the continuous kicking of the baby in her womb, Ada hurries to Dr. Hudson's surgery at the Crescent. She finds a corner in the Crescent and sits down. Dr. Hudson, on seeing Ada, wonders why Ada didn't come to the hospital with ambulance. Ada, on the other hand, wonders how she will call an ambulance when she and Francis has decided that she will deliver the baby at home. During this pregnancy, upon a time she tries to pick some things for she and her baby, but Francis sees it as a waste of money as the £60 could be used to feed the family. So with this, Ada just tells the doctor that she cannot have the baby at the University College Hospital, but at home in their room at Willis Road. Though she could not tell the doctor that the reason she's having her child at home is because of £6, because she knows that the doctor was going to tell her, "Why won't your husband go out to work with £6?" So she decided to cover up for Francis. In her shallow mind, she makes excuses for Francis that Francis is from Armageddon Jehovah Witness and worry less of things of the world. After her visit to Dr. Hudson, on arriving home, she realizes she found two Chinese women. So in the process of helping Ada deliver, she bleeds so profusely that they had to rush her to the hospital where she finally delivers. She delivers through an operation. Her baby is so big and hairy that Ada becomes afraid. Ada, surviving this horrible situation, smiles and thanks the doctors and the nurses, then finally slips away. Few hours later, Ada wakes up to consciousness. She finds herself in a big open ward. She finds it so difficult to talk, to move, or to do anything. Based on observation, Ada compares her case with one woman who had her first child after 17 years of a marriage, and yet her husband still loved and cherished her. According to Ada, if she was that woman, Francis must have made her die a psychological death or must have gotten a second wife. She was very sure that Francis would declare himself a Muslim as he acquired a second wife. To Ada, Francis was like a vicar of Bray. He changes his religion to suit his whim. Francis, who she considers went to Catholic or began to claim that he was a Catholic member, said this upon failing his examination, and when he started feeling inferior among his Nigerian students or his fellow Nigerian students, he became an Ahmad Jehovah Witness. With that said, adjusting her mindset, Ada finally survives and becomes a living specimen in the world. To Ada, she means different things to everybody. We should note that to the women in the world, Ada was named Caesar, while the doctor called her called presentation. The nurses in the world called her mother of Muhammad Ali because her baby was so big. In fact, her new baby Boo Boo was treated with a VIP treatment. After 4 days in the hospital, the tube that held Ada's mouth was removed. And by the time visitors were allowed to visit in the hospital, Ada realizes how family and husband visited the maternity with so much gift card and flower. It was reckoned that only Ada's table was empty, as there was no flower or gift card, not even a family member to visit her. She became a laughingstock in the hospital that the women there had to talk to her or talk about her even with her own hearing. This was the words they said to her. Hey! Look at that nigger woman with no flowers, no card, no visitors, except her husband, who usually come 5 minutes before the closing time. Looking as if he hates it all looks at her. She doesn't have a nightdress of her own. Is she from the Holloway? From a prison? Only patient from a prison wear the hospital dress in the world. These are the kind of words they said to her, especially one Greek woman. Ada grieves quietly within herself. Finally, Francis visits her with an envelope telling her that there is a good news. What good news? The good news is that her office at Flinchley office had given her an allowance as she has put to bed. But in telling Ada this, Francis also tells her his plan of using it to register for his failed examination. With this, Ada becomes very furious. Ada blows in annoyance, hearing that Francis is saying that he wants to use the money for allowance to pay for his failed examination in courts and accountancy on Monday. She throws a milk jug at him and explodes, asking him to get out. Ada declares before his face that she hates Francis and that she prays that her children will marry women and that will love and respect the women, not treating the women like goats the way Francis treated her. It was at this point that Ada said she wished she had a hope, that the reason she ran into an early marriage with Francis was because she desired a hope. So at this point, it was an analysis on the part of the audience that Ada married because she wanted a home desperately. So, as time goes on, after 14 days, Ada is discharged from the hospital. She comes back home, meeting her children alive, and they still remember her. All thanks to God for that Francis didn't kill them while she was away. So there she resolves that she will continue to love and to protect her children, being the only companion she has here in London. So, as time goes on, Christmas approach. On the Christmas day, Ada is so happy to tell people that her husband is a Jehovah Witness instead of telling them that there is no money. She deceitfully tells herself that God understands her condition, but surprisingly to her, her boss, Mrs. Conrad at North Flinchley Library, buys her her children a doll, a guitar, and a hedgehog on Christmas Day. She is also being told by Mr. Noble of Never Never Man where she can actually buy a gift and pay on instrumental. Mr. Noble's wife, on the other hand, Mrs. Noble, whose real name is Mrs. Sue, please let's take note, Sue as in Sue was her name, on Christmas Day hosted a tea party for the children. It was at this point that Ada realizes that Vicky, one of Vicky's ears, was growing big. Ada panicked because this happens to be on a Christmas day. What doctor will respond to a black child on a Christmas day? Ada thought to herself. So as Ada kept panicking, Francis on the other hand put a call across the doctor, which finally a Chinese doctor was sent to them. Ada realizes that the Chinese doctor was also a second-class citizen like herself. No wonder he was sent to come. So after so much examination on the part of the doctor diagnosed that Vicky was suffering from bed bugs, which caused one of his ears to swell. This made Francis very angry that he had to tear the notes. At this point, it is expedient we note that Ada wakes up every Monday morning to go and bathe in Prince Wale's Road. This was her custom every Monday morning, but on this very day, she intends going to bathe in the morning in order to aid her go for a family planning clinic. She sees the nurse and passionately appeals to the nurse to please give her some pills. Openly, she tells the nurse, I am just 21 years old and I have 3 kids. She does not want to have the fourth one. And so that she can mind her studies, which is the main reason she comes to London. The nurse, on the other hand, tells Ada that if any decision will be taken, it will be taken with her husband by her side. Ada, on the other hand, knowing that though Francis may not accede to this, but decides to tell him.